Welcome to the Marketing Powers Podcast. I'm your host, Mkwemba Mangangu, and I'm joined by my co-host, Grace Gondwe.
We're both marketing enthusiasts with a passion for sharing our knowledge and insights with you. This podcast is designed to equip our listeners with the information they need to excel at marketing in their different spaces. Our aim is to bring marketing home.
With that said, let's delve into today's episode. Hi, Tiki. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. How's been the week?
The week has been amazing. How's been yours?
Yeah, it's okay. Fantastic. What's happened?
Same old. Just trying to, live life and be fun about it. I stumbled upon this thing. You know how sometimes Hungarian sausage?
Yeah.
It can get a little boring because you're eating the same Hungarian sausage every single time. And you sort of get tired of the taste. So I now have what I'm calling Hungarian sausage roulette. Where, hear me out. Where I buy different brands of Hungarian sausages.
Okay.
That's like your Legana, your real meat, Zambeef, like all the Hungarian sausages, and put them into one plastic bag. And when they go into the freezer, I want to cook, I simply just pick I pick at random.
Like, what do I have today?
Exactly. Like, I'm surprised every time I bite into the Hungarian sausage because I don't know what to expect. It makes eating Hungarian sausage much more fun.
Okay, interesting. Today, we do not have Grace with us.
Yeah, what a shame.
What a shame.
Yeah.
Grace is out here globe-trotting.
Exactly.
We can't wait to hear of her exploits.
Yeah, Grace is currently in Uganda.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. She's on the grind. So hopefully when she comes back, we hear what she has for us from a marketing perspective in Uganda.
Exactly. And I bet she'll have a lot to say.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But today, we have a very, very interesting guest in the studio. And today we're talking to Moono Chungu, who is Unila's Marketing and Public Relations Officer. And our conversation is personal branding, your personal favorite.
It's going to be a good one. Welcome, Moono. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're good.
Cool.
Good to have you here.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
And of course, I always start. Oh, do you want to tell me what interesting happened during this week? Maybe you are also playing some.
No, I don't have a great story. I don't have a great story. My highlight of the week is literally this right now. Being on the podcast after listening to your episodes. Yeah.
Do you hear that? You guys are missing out. It's vibes in the studio.
Shout out to you, Moono. Thanks so much.
No, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
I think let's get started.
So our first question is, how do you define marketing? This is when, before we get to know who Moono is, we want to know, how do you define marketing?
This is like an exam and you have the question one, which is compulsory. And it's 40 marks. This is your compulsory question.
Well, too much pressure for the 40%, but I would define marketing as how companies intentionally choose to grip people's attention in order to sell a product or service. Yeah.
Nice. Keyword there for me, intentionally.
Yeah.
Marketing is intentional. We've spoken about that time.
Yes, time and time again, we point out the fact that everything we do in marketing is deliberate and it's not by accident. And we'll get into, just how deliberate personal branding is, because the truth of the matter is you don't leave it to chance. You need to be very intentional about how you go about branding yourself.
Exactly.
And then the part B of the compulsory question, which highlights to us who is Moono, and go through your journey is. So what inspired you to get into the field of marketing? If we could just get into that.
So funny enough, I'm actually a journalist by profession. Yeah. So I always thought I would, work as a journalist forever. I started out at the Post newspaper, moved to Vodafone Jump, and then moved into marketing. I worked for Adlab McCann briefly. And I remember when I actually got into marketing then, because in fact, I moved into marketing after I graduated from university, and I was promoted basically from Vodafone Jump into the Vodafone marketing department.
Nice.
And I actually messaged my lecturer, like, guess what? I'm in marketing. And he was like, what? Because everyone always assumed, I was so bent on, I'm going to be a journalist. It's going to be great. But yeah, so that's how I moved into marketing. It wasn't intentional. On my end, it was just someone in marketing saw me and thought, okay, she would be great in this department. Let's get her. And they poached me. Okay, no, they promoted me. And then I was poached by a company, which then from me starting out in marketing at Vodafone, I've worked in marketing since. So I moved into Adler McCann, where I worked as a social media executive. And then I moved to University of Lusaka, where I currently work as marketing and public relations officer.
Oh, fantastic.
Jinx.
And how's that going? Because now we get this view of, and we keep talking about how in marketing you have these deliberate steps you take to get better, to a point where someone looks at you and says, I'll promote her. Someone else looks at you and says, I'll poach her. So there's obviously things that you're doing right. So how's the journey been so far?
It's been good. It's been really good. I think if I anticipated my life going this way, if I looked at it like 10 years ago, like, oh, I'll be working in marketing, I think I wouldn't have had this anticipation, but it's been really good. I've worked for University of Lusaka for 5 years now, slightly over 5 years. And it's been so great. Like, I've been given like so many platforms to express my creativity, interact with people, network, and grow my brand. You know, it's not something that I was like, okay, I will grow my brand, but it ended up happening. And there's so many things that have happened in my journey that I can point out to. Oh, okay, that definitely helped in aiding my journey and branding and growing myself. Yeah.
And just for a few listeners out there, Mona and I actually, in regards to work, we have cross paths. And I can tell, you hear it from me, you are good at what you do.
Oh, thank you. The words of affirmation in me is like, oh.
You are damn good at what you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
We should have a drum roll set. Lovely stuff. So with that in mind and all the branding you've talked about, and obviously to reach the point you've reached, I mean, you do have a good understanding and you've grasped the concept of personal branding. So if you could please, let's get into it. What is personal branding? What about personal branding are you so passionate about?
Well, so personal branding, to answer the first question, is, again, intentional effort by an individual to place themselves as someone in the industry who can be trusted. So it's also an indirect way of marketing yourself and just showing people what you are capable of, while also, just growing your brand at the same time. So what makes me interested in personal branding is I believe that everyone has a story. I think it's the journalist in me. I believe everyone has a story, and we all need to be intentional about putting our stories out there, because you don't know who you could inspire. Even yourself. It's not always up. Sometimes things go down and you need to be inspired, like, oh, I actually did that thing. So I think that's what has gripped my attention so much about personal branding, is it does such a great job at inspiring people, and it's also a great way to document the things that you've done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You've spoken into how sometimes you could inspire yourself, right? So I know you have a diverse background, journalism, digital media, public relations, and now marketing as well. So how have you crafted your personal brand to reflect your unique skills as well as your experience?
Yeah. Well, so I've used storytelling for the most part. Okay. I've always, one of the first stories that I told on my LinkedIn, for example, which is the platform that I use mostly, and I'm sure we'll talk about soon, is I talked about, I think it was 2 years after I graduated from university, and I basically put out a post saying, it's been 2 years since I graduated, and, I can remember that day I posted a picture of me at grad, because at the time I didn't use LinkedIn that much, and just spoke about how much I've grown since then and how much I'm looking forward to and all of that. Also telling my story of how I wanted to be a journalist at the time. And that actually went viral. In fact, I got a mature lady even asking me to come onto her radio station to come and talk about personal branding and, growing as a professional from a young person's perspective. So, yeah.
When you're good, you're good.
Well.
Drops mic
from the very get-go. I think with personal branding, from everything we've talked about, intentionality and everything, from my knowledge, it shapes your persona for the people outside. Okay, so we need to be very deliberate, because now we look at it from the aspect of it's not personal branding you're doing with your very inner circle. Those people have it's a collage of images that form this picture of you that's very hard to break. I mean, you'd have to do something very drastic for your image to just be totally, wiped out or cause commotion. Whereas outside, this is where we say you have to be very deliberate, and you don't do it haphazardly. Because now your personal brand is, what are we trying to communicate to the people outside? Okay, so with that, because what I would like to find out is, how would you advise someone who's just starting to build their personal brand? Like, what foundational steps do we take? Like, from the lessons you've learned yourself over time, how do we go about that?
I think the best advice I'd give actually is just for someone to know themselves and be authentic. So first you must know yourself in order to be authentic. There's a lot of people who, I'll say this, I've done like lectures on personal branding with some of our students at University of Lusaka, and I've emphasized this so much in the lectures: be authentic, be authentic. But sometimes I see the stuff that's being put out there, and it looks very similar to what I've put. So it's almost like they've just gone and looked at your profile, they've copied, oh, this is how she does it. And sometimes it's okay, because you will be inspired by people. You can be inspired, but you must find what is authentically me about this. How can I transition this into who I am, to showcase who I am? Because you can't lie. It's like putting on your CV that, I dance and make coffee at the same time, and then you get into the office and you can't do that, So
that you can speak French and then have your interview done in French.
Yes. So you must be authentic, be yourself, embrace yourself, and don't ever question how people will perceive you. Because as people, we are always overly conscious of ourselves.
That's true.
So just be yourself. I hear so many people saying, if I post this, people are going to think this. Just post. We want to know. And it's doing so much for you, for your future. Just be audacious. Just do what you have to do. Post and
And I feel the problem that comes in when we're dealing with personal branding, because remember, and I'll keep emphasizing this point, we're being intentional. Okay. People will have the conversations and say, oh, okay, you know what, I want to build my personal brand. And you need to set a target. Why are you building your personal brand? There needs to be a reason, and there also needs to be a target. Because part of it is not necessarily for you. It's whose attention are you trying to get? I think is another aspect we should look at, because it's someone's attention you're trying to get. I don't do farming. If I start posting farming equipment, someone calls me and says, you're talking about farming. I can't help them. But now, personally, I'll create videos on marketing, and I feel I can speak on the topic of marketing and then create value for that particular audience in that sense.
Definitely.
You highlighted something very interesting, which sort of struck a nerve when it comes to personal branding and being authentic, which is something that I stand on. I'm always advising people, don't miss an opportunity to let your personality show, basically. Like in every room that you walk into, please let your personality show. Now, how do you balance that authenticity with professionalism, especially when you're developing your personal brand?
That's a very good question. I think it's important because I think as professionals, there's sort of a mask that we wear, to be honest. You get in, maybe you're not a person who wears suits all the time, but you have
My hand is up.
You have to do that thing, but you can still be yourself, because for me, how I do it is I'm still quirky. Like, okay, yes, I'll dress up the way I need to dress up, but I'll still do like crazy things. Maybe it helps for me because I'm an artist at nature, and I'm a marketer. No one really expects it to be like good morning, sir. How are you doing? So it's So be authentic in your. It's difficult, but you need to strike a balance. So it's in small things. You could be communicating something that's very professional, like professional advice to a young person.
Yes.
But you bring in a word like laka, if that's who you are.
Yes.
So still, just be you.
Yeah.
People love to see it, and I think that's what would define you, because people will be like, oh, that person who's professional but still has some spurs to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I get from that is I'm not doing a bad job, because I'm learning a lot throughout this conversation. I'm very informal, even sometimes at the workplace.
Yeah.
I throw professionalism out of the window.
Yeah.
And sometimes, because of who I am, some slang comes out. Of course, I'm cautious when some of the slang comes out, but like you're saying, you say laka, chilling, itemize, those
because
words.
That's what you're doing.
Exactly. So it's sometimes very difficult to actually strike a balance between who you are and trying to be professional at the same time.
Yeah. I've got an example to that. Recently, or a couple of months ago, my former colleague, who is now my boss, was promoted. Okay. And a long time ago, we took a picture. I don't know if you know that picture of Will Smith next to Jada Pinkett Smith, and he's doing that kind of hand thing. Yes. So we took that picture a long time ago. That's the picture I posted to say congratulations to him. Someone would expect me to post like a professional picture of him. He's now the marketing manager. Nope.
With hands folded.
Why? No, we would do the thing. And I just went with it. Like, it was a Friday, I think, that I posted. So I was like, okay, since it's Friday, or was it? No, it was actually holidays. So most people on like Christmas break and whatnot. Yes. So I was like, okay, I'll take it. We're in Christmas break, so allow it. Yeah, and so it's professional still. He's been promoted, sharp, but me personally, I'm not that guy to be shaking your hand. It's wana, you know what I mean?
Yes, that's who you are.
Yeah,
that's who you are. And you also touched on when you also spoke about inspiration. It's not everyone who can confidently go out there and say, "Yo, this is who I am. This is my personality. This is my brand. This is what I speak into." Some people have self-doubt. Some people, yes. Yeah. So, how do you overcome challenges of self-doubt to reach where you are today? Yes, I mean, you're someone who's, like I said, you're doing a very good job when it comes to LinkedIn. You're someone who people would look up to on LinkedIn as well. How did you overcome challenges of self-doubt where you reach today?
I think that's a very good question. I think it's something that you do over time. And it goes back to what I said earlier. You should know yourself. So knowing yourself also means knowing your capabilities and being confident in it. Be humble. Because it's tough on these streets. You can easily just be like, hey, me, I'm the what? No, so always staying humble. For me, what helps always is reminding myself, this is for the glory of God. I'm doing this for God and not for myself, So I would say, know yourself. Don't overthink things like, what are people going to think? Just post. And when you post, you will see how people feel. So I have had challenges. I would like to think that I became confident when I was young. And I also, my dad, when he was alive, he would constantly tell me like, you're great, Yeah. So I come from a background of being like affirmed and like I have confidence in myself and, but I'll tell you this, I'm really sorry to this company, but where I worked before Unilas, which I've already mentioned, it was rough. Yeah. Like, it was like such a tough job for me. Like, every day you're constantly being questioned. I had colleagues telling me, are you sure you know what you're doing? I was, first of all, being overworked and all of that. But I had people who would tell me, like, you're not good at your job. The person before you was doing much better than you. And I was really putting in the work. Yeah. Like, I was coming to work before everyone. I used to sit on the steps working, waiting for them to open the door,
Yeah.
So there was that. And after that, I think that was a very, very necessary experience for me because it told me that, listen, Moono, number one, you're being underpaid. Number two, you're working hard. Just go. Choose your mental health. So when I started at Unilas, I already knew, like, I know my capabilities. I know what I'm able to do. I know that I am a fighter. I'm a conqueror.
Yes.
So, yeah. So I jumped into the job already knowing that I need to establish myself. I should not have self-doubt. There's very few people who can tell me now that, Moono, you're not doing a good job. Yeah. Like, I know I'm doing a good job. Maybe I'll fail here and there. Like, there's places I need to constantly assess, like, what can I improve on? Stuff like that. But you need to, it's an inside job, honestly. You need to just constantly audit yourself. How am I doing? Where can I do better? And don't be cocky about it, but just be humble and still be confident at the same time.
I think with that in mind, right? You have this experience of what you went through somewhere else. And now when we attach it to the personal branding bit of the situation, because I feel another important part of personal branding is how do you align yourself with the goals of the organization? Okay, you as an individual. And I feel like we can see it from just the explanation you've given. Now you're at a point where your personal brand can come out, and when it does, it aligns with the organization's goals, and you meet your KPIs in that sense. Because now, to be honest, before you, I never used to see much of, University of Lusaka. All of a sudden, I'm like,
and now it's in your face.
It's in my face. Going back, I mean, we even go into like brand awareness. Like, you keep it top of mind, and at any given point, you'll be like, oh, okay, I can now associate. I'm almost associating you every time I think of you. I'm like, Moono Unilas. Because you expect that something like that is going to come out. Yeah.
I think for me, what has helped is, so Unilas's brand is about passion. Their motto is passion for quality education, our driving force. And I'm a very passionate person.
Yes.
Before I even started, thank you. Before I even started to work for Unilas, even with my blog, my motto on my blog is passionate, persistent, and patriotic. So I've always been passionate. So it's very helpful. I think it's maybe I'm lucky that I fit into a brand that fits into who I am.
Yes.
So I think even myself, I've managed to flourish as an individual because I've been placed in this environment, and it should go to say that God really never wastes a battle. Honestly, when you step into something, he knows, like, he's placed you there for a reason. And whether it's negative or positive, at the end of the day, for me, I think that there was something that God is teaching you in that place. So I think it's also important to study your brand. For me, I'm thinking, okay, what's our brand? So our brand is young, it's youthful. A lot of people like to joke that they are the exes and bali shiny.
Yes.
So I constantly keep that in my mind. When I'm creating content, it's to either embrace it, because it's put out as a negative thing, but there's a way that you can make it positive.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you think we're for Bali. Okay, sharp.
Yeah.
We'll do the things that will make us,
Yes.
So just always knowing what's your target market. What is it that people say about us, and using that to your advantage.
That's really smart, because other people will be like, okay, how do I change this narrative? How do I change this narrative? But then you're like, okay, we're riding this train, and now you then change the perspective, because now you've got the task of how do I now change the direction of how people view this place. And as time goes on, I mean, some things start to change, and there's also now the seriousness that you get, because I feel personally, like just in Lusaka, if I'm not mistaken, you must have the largest numbers for even just like master's programs.
Yes.
Most people are, where are you doing it? Where are you doing it from? They'll be like, oh, I'm doing it at UNIS. And now you're thinking, what's happening? Moono is working.
And just piggybacking off turning negatives into positives. We did have a prior discussion before we got to this interview, and you mentioned something that was interesting, utter disbelief for me. And you mentioned that growing up, you were not necessarily the top dog academically. Shocking, for our viewers listening. Shocking information here. So how have you used that, and what role did that play into your journey? And then also, how would you advise someone who maybe is feeling a little bit intimidated or uncertain about putting themselves out there or promoting their work?
I think like I said, God never wastes a battle. We go through everything for a reason. So yes, I was not like the brightest kid. I wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed. And I come from a family where people are sharp. Like my dad was the highest in Zambia when he finished grade 12 in Zambia.
Wow. Shout outs to him.
And my brother's smart, my mom is smart. I was the opposite, but because I used to like to play. So because of that, I think when I reached uni, after A-levels shattered me, because the shattering was shattering. I said, I am not going to fail again. When I go to uni, I need to pass. I need to do my best. In fact, I wanted to be the highest student. I wanted to be the best graduating student. I wasn't. but I was second best, and that's great.
Kudos to you.
Fantastic. Good.
Yeah.
I mean, from the journey from where we're coming from to get to that is quite.
Yeah, no, but I was like a high achiever in uni. But because I told myself, when I tell you in orientation week, I was studying. Like, people were drinking and I was in the library.
Those people
like
still irritate me.
I'm that guy. But when you were the best graduating student, what do you mean?
He was the best graduating student.
He's not someone to play with.
No.
But why are you studying during orientation?
No, because do you know how I
just
failed?
got here.
You've never failed in life, okay? You can't relate.
No. Yes, and he's literally one of those people. Honestly, even in uni, don't follow him blindly. Like,
he looks it.
Have your plan, because if you follow him, you will fail.
You see?
Because he's one of those. He would come back from a night out. Everyone has gone to sleep because they're tired. Him is like, oh, I've got a presentation or a PowerPoint to finish, and starts typing on his laptop. Others have gone to sleep because they're tired. Him still has the energy to do that, and you're following blindly.
Me, I'm not you. I didn't come to play. Like, I was that guy who assignments, I had submitted like 6 assignments ahead. Like, I'm already in that other month. My friends are talking about, I'm like, oh, I submitted that like a long time ago. What are you talking about, sweetie? I don't remember. Yeah. So I was very intentional about, no, we need to pass because this is my future. If I don't do it now, what am I going to be? So I think that was very helpful. But also because I was studying something that was, for me, not necessarily like work. Like, uni was such a breather. Like, it felt like fun. Like, it was just, interviewing people, publishing. Like, they would give us assignments that were like, okay, if you write an article, we'll give you 10 extra points.
Okay.
And for me, because I already had connections with the Post at the time, because I started working before uni, it was pretty easy. So I used to get like those extra marks easily and stuff like that. So, yeah.
It goes back to the statement.
Yeah.
Do something you love, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
You are one of very few people who get to live this dream, whereas other people,
it's rough.
When you ask them how work was, it's a different story. But we won't get into all of that.
Yeah.
So going back to passions, right, and the importance of personal branding. Another aspect, just like you said, you had to work through all this and now start putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
And what people need to realize, just like any other brand, is a brand has no value unless people are aware of it.
Yeah.
And that's the part you are coming from, where we're talking about, look, just post if you do have something to say, because no one is going to know if you just keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
No one will see the value you have and that you bring to the table. And we are so unique, so different, just coming from the story you've brought out, who someone else would be like, is she going to do it? Well, why would she do that? And now, actually, maybe where you're working before, people now are like, okay, you see, but now you put yourself in front of people, and I think like that's a barrier. Lots of people, we need to be able to break and help people cross it, because I feel you can talk about, I'll get this ready. It's the part where you have to press publish.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is where the problem is, and get the content out.
Yeah. I think. Wait, sorry. What is the question?
So basically, is how do you encourage someone to go? You know what? Let's go ahead.
I see.
Yes.
Well, so you see, with me, with my LinkedIn, actually, like we said earlier, everything is intentional, and you need to be deliberate. When I started my LinkedIn, my goal was to have 500 plus followers. Just because when you get to 500 plus, LinkedIn no longer shows
you
400,
how many,
202.
Yeah.
So that was my goal.
Yeah.
When I got to 500, I followed as many people as I could. People from school, people from uni, people from my parents' companies, whoever I knew and I could see, I followed. That was my goal. Today, I have almost 10,000 followers. And when I got to 500, I stopped. I was like, okay. But people now continued.
Yes.
And there are people I'll see like, oh, that person, maybe I'll meet them in the industry, for example, like Tukia.
Yes.
Let me connect with Tukia. There's so much I could learn from what Tukia is going to post. It's networking. There's so much we could learn from each other.
True.
So, yeah, I think just post, Mandy, honestly. Like, why should you stress yourself?
It's
and
that,
you know what?
It's that barrier from having something actually to post, to pressing that publish, like,
don't overthink
people shake.
No, don't overthink it. Just post. And you'll be shocked because I would have never guessed. I probably started out with like 2 likes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know? And then one day I post this thing about grad and it got to like 800 likes.
Oh, wow.
This was like ages ago. Now I'll get to like 1,000 likes for some things.
Yeah.
Just post. Just trust the process. It's not going to be day one you post and you're at the same level as if HH posts. No. Start where you are. It's okay. Small. People will be like, oh, who's this person? Who's this person? But be authentic. And when you're authentic, people want to like know more about you because you're a different person. If we're all the same, like, and then.
Yeah.
Oh, truly. And it goes back to, I feel like there's a conversation we're having before we started recording. Okay. So we're basically saying, if you want to start personal branding, you start now. Okay. You're very deliberate about what you want to achieve at the end of it, because the best time to have started was yesterday. But yesterday is gone. You start now.
Yeah.
And once you start building the trust from your audience and they get to see what you're doing, you know, people start investing in you.
Yeah.
And they start telling other people about you.
Yeah.
Okay, which leads to the benefits, opportunities, and those that open once you start putting yourself out there. And I feel like people should also put those things into consideration, because now that you've already started doing this, how many likes will you be getting the next 5, 10 years? Now people having conversations will be like, okay, we're having a talk. Can we find a way to get Moono Chungu here?
Yeah.
Okay, and you start from somewhere. So not everyone that we see today, it's not overnight. I mean, it's not like maybe like a socialite and anything. We actually when talk about it from a very professional standpoint. I mean, even people who are doing comedy and skits, truly, you start with 1 likes. No one is really enjoying your content, and over time, people start 5, 50, and people start following you just like that.
Yeah, true.
That's how it works. You've just reminded me of something. Talking about creating opportunities, right? In your life and throughout your experience, how has your personal brand, where you are today, helped you sort of open doors for yourself and other opportunities?
Yeah, it's definitely helped me a lot. I would say through my brand, just having myself on LinkedIn, I remember I've gotten like opportunities outside of what I do. So I've gotten copywriting gigs, for example, and it's just someone who comes and says, hi, I want you to do this thing. I don't even know how much it costs. Okay, I'll do it for like a small amount. Next minute it's, okay, because I'm also a published author. So that has also helped. So, okay, we've seen you've published this book. We want to do a documentary, and being hired as the copywriter for that, the script writer. So that has given me opportunities. I would say the biggest side gig I've gotten is after writing this documentary. The person who was producing the documentary got me to do you remember Summit for Democracy?
Yes.
Yeah, Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Yeah, I copyrighted like a moving museum.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, that's the biggest money I've ever gotten in my life. Like, boom.
We are going to eat after this. There's no way.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
The money has gone. Yeah. So that was good, being placed in that environment where like the president is coming to see this, Kamala Harris is coming to see this.
That's huge.
Yeah, that was really good for me. Like, I think it's given me opportunities where people will be like, oh, who's this girl?
Yeah.
You know, so come, let's have this. I've also done like storytelling workshops.
Yes.
I was telling Mukwemba earlier, like lectures at University of Lusaka, just teaching students about personal branding and LinkedIn. So being able to also not just keep the knowledge to myself. I may have learned just out of like chance, like, oh, maybe I should try this. But now I can actually tell people and they can grow. So it's always important to, when you've learned something, share the knowledge with other people. Why should I be the only person growing, my brand?
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's nice of you.
Before Tiki asks the follow-up question, Have you been named yet? So we have this thing we're laughing at last time when we talked about the branding conversation. So you see, you have like in Zambia, people will name you. So we digress a bit first. People will name you. So we're like, okay, those who? George Basketball.
George Basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Tukia Mashots. So
I'm rebranding.
Oh, wow.
So, who's that? Rose Park. There's a man called Bagode. I don't know if it comes from the fact that he sells goats and so goat meat. So it's very popular among people who eat.
Oh yeah, nice.
Who eat goat meat. So I didn't want to say Tanda Kuni Bagode. Just know.
Bagode is doing big.
Bagode is doing big. Actually, he's just a point where you have to call Bagode. You can't just.
He's used. He's used now.
You see, and he probably didn't try to brand, but he's doing great.
You see, consistency, and that is what it does for you, right? You're consistent, and people will keep coming. If they see that there's a flow and people, someone is still putting this out.
Yeah. No, I haven't. Not to my knowledge, anyway. Not yet.
Maybe in other circles.
Yeah, maybe. Not yet. At university, I was. At university, I was always, because I would always talk about in my country. So the people say that Zambian girl. So that's why my blog is called That Zambian Girl. But not yet here. Hopefully, they'll give me a nice name, like a prophetic one, so that we can excel.
Exactly.
Moono, are you able to just give our viewers just some insight to your journey? You said you're a published author.
Yeah.
Yes. So are you able to just give us a background of your journey in as a published author as well as a blogger?
Yeah. So I've always loved writing. If I could do one thing for the rest of my life, actually, I would write.
Okay.
So my blog started in uni because I had to. So it was like the exam. So you had to have a blog. So at the end of the year, they would examine you on all the blogs that you've posted, right?
Oh, okay.
So that's why. And even coming up with having it as That Zambian Girl was because that's what I can talk about every day at the time, because I was in South Africa. So that's why with my blog. And then with my book, so from my name, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm bi-tribal. So I'm Bemba, but my first name is Tonga. Mom is Tonga. So people are always like, Moono Chungu, how? I always to this day get that question. Now that I'm older, it's been like, are you Mr. Chungu's wife? No. That's just my father. Yeah. So I had a lot of experience with tribalism, especially because of my name. Like people would accuse me, you're claiming to be Bemba, and people around me, they'd be like, are you cows? Stuff like that. Whereas my brother, whose name is Chanda Chungu, has like one experience with tribalism, and it wasn't even that drastic, to be honest. So I constantly felt like people always looked down on Tongas. Back then, there was a lot of tribalism, like people just thinking, Tongas are cows, Tongas are selfish, Tongas are this. Most of the tribal comments I heard were against Tongas. So I figured I would write a book, because I'm very passionate about Zambia also. I figured I would write a book that was talking about how Zambia was founded, what our roots are, which is one Zambia, one nation, and how Kaunda was so intentional about, creating unity, tribal mixing, and all of that. And talk about how we've diverted from that, because I felt like over the years, it was people constantly saying, Bembas are like that, Tongas are like that, Lozis are like that,
stereotyping.
Stereotyping. So trying to dissuade people from engaging in those stereotypes, also presenting them as fake, because, for me, in my experience, like, people say like Bemba people are talkative. I used to go with that, like at school, and they'll say, "Oh, she talks too much at school," and I'm like, "But I'm Bemba," But when I thought about it, my dad wasn't talkative, So just dissuading people from engaging in stereotypes, also highlighting the negative things about tribalism, like giving examples of Rwanda and Zimbabwe, where there was division in Zimbabwe with the Ndebeles and the Shonas, and even how what they've referred to is kukura-undi, which is the washing away of chaff. So that's how they looked down on Ndebeles, as they are just leftovers that need to be washed away. And then also in Rwanda, it was these same negative things of they are cockroaches.
Yes.
In Zambia, same thing. It's they are cows. I mean, my name doesn't help because Moono. Right?
I wasn't ready for
Yeah, so it's like all these small things. So I really just wanted to dissuade people from engaging in tribalism, and basically just encourage people to embrace being Zambian and get back to our roots. And I was lucky to actually meet KK before he died and tell him that I wrote this book. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. The opportunity came through uni last year. Not like myself. I didn't just go there.
They've opened doors.
You know?
Yeah.
They really have.
Because I feel you, just to talk about this for a bit. Mm-hmm. The book you wrote, Roots, yes? Mm-hmm. First, where can people find it?
So I have all the copies.
You have
it's
all
also
the
on
copies.
Amazon, to be fair. But
yes.
that it costs a lot. Even me, I can't afford the one on Amazon. So call me.
Moono Chungu on LinkedIn.
You know?
Yes.
Instagram with Tolankani. Facebook, just message me. I autograph all the copies. So it's very personal also.
Yes.
Yeah. I like to know who's reading the book. I like to get reviews and all of that jazz.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and I think there's another book that was done some years back by Chibamba Kanyama.
Mm.
Okay. But he brought it from an entrepreneurial perspective. Mm-hmm. So as opposed to where people are being, losses are these are that. So he was looking from that perspective, like this culture, this is what they bring to the table and how we work with it. So it's just nice to know that we still have people who are still very passionate about the conversations about our country. Although, would you say we're the new age doesn't really care? Like to a point where when you say your name, it doesn't click.
Yeah.
Nothing comes to mind. And we're just like, oh, okay.
Definitely. I think it's reduced a lot because I wrote the book and it was actually released. I launched the book exactly a month before the 2021 elections.
Yes.
And I talk about in my book how election time is when the tribal comments come out to play.
Yes.
And I think, I'm not saying that I'm the one who caused it to stop, but definitely I think also our generation doesn't focus on that.
No, they really
but
don't.
I have had experiences where someone can even tell you don't date her, she's stronger. I have had experience. Yes.
Oh, wow.
I've had such kind of experiences. But I think it's so much better, honestly. Yes. I haven't experienced tribalism in a very long time. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's good to know where tribalism is. It's nothing positive. Nothing positive comes out of tribalism. Yeah. So moving right along, I would also just like to find out, because you've done a lot of continuous learning as well as self-development. You've transitioned journalism, digital age, etc., etc. How do the two, learning of course and development, play a role in maintaining and enhancing your personal brand over time? If you could just put us through that journey as well as you have transitioned. What are some of the things that you've learned, and how do you feel like you've developed into the lady that you become today? Yeah,
I think I've definitely learned the importance of networking, that when you're in an environment where you can learn from those who have gone ahead of you, but also market yourself to those who may be in a position to give you opportunities. I've learned to do that a lot. I've also learned that it's okay to embrace who you are. Being creative and all of that is very helpful. Yeah. In a nutshell, I think that's what I would say I've learned.
And do you think, like you've mentioned, you're a writer. If you said if there's one thing that you do for the rest of your life, it's writing. How does that help in terms of expressing yourself? Yeah. Expressing yourself not only on social media, but I also like to know in public. We've spoken a lot about your LinkedIn and your Facebook, but what about in person? Yeah.
So I'm also a very good public speaker, if I can say. I'm a very humble person. But I
time you need to John.
Let me just say this. I like to call it fake humility that Zambians have, where no, I'm not. Where to a certain extent we almost struggle to accept compliments. Yeah. No,
I can accept a compliment, but saying it like that sounds like
you said if you're good, you're good.
Yeah. And okay. Yeah. True.
Yeah. Okay. Own it.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. True. I love public speaking. I used to act in school as well. So that's very helpful. So I love talking also, as you can tell. I think also another thing I could do forever is talk. I love it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's very helpful. I think writing also probably has helped, but I've always been a chatterbox, to be fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, in line with the fact that you love talking and telling stories. So when we look at personal branding, there's 3 things that tend to be very important that we should take note of. The first one is you need to be self-aware.
Yeah.
Okay. So you need to know what you can pull out of your hat.
Yeah.
Okay. And know that, okay, this is the opportunity in front of me, and these are the skills available to me for if this is the route you've decided to take. So it's very important that we're self-aware and then as well telling the story.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you're telling a personal brand and you need people to resonate with you.
Yeah.
You need to tell a story in one way or the other through your life and how you present information back to the intentional with the information that you put out. So that way, like I was talking to Moono earlier, and we were talking about a lot of the things that are happening. Storytelling is very important, that helps people resonate with brands and how they're moving. So that way, I think you mentioned Absa with Mzengamelu, like them moving from Barclays to Absa and getting her was really good for the brand itself and her pushing. I mean, her personal brand, just that's the power of the personal brand.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into the benefits of these things. And finally, also very important that when you're at this stage, you start to deepen relationships. So the quality of the relationships you have with people around you is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've mentioned something interesting as well. This intersection between sort of your personal brand and your professional life. In what ways do you think these two intersect? And does it benefit both your personal brand as well as the company brand?
Yeah.
In your case, what are your views on that?
Yeah, I'll definitely say my personal brand has managed to be grown out attributed to Unilas because before Unilas there was not much I could post, concerning my work and all of that, and I didn't have time to actually focus on my brand, even though at the time it wasn't something that I was consciously thinking about. But definitely right now, the work that I do, constantly just talking about what I do and all of that, it has helped me to market the university at the same time, because people will come and say like, oh, we see you work for Unilas, isn't it? That type of thing. So definitely both have
a benefit.
Yeah, they've both, and they work, they go together. Yeah.
Okay. You said, I think twice already on this recording that you're lucky. I think you're blessed.
Oh, thank you.
I'd like to
change.
Yeah, I'd like to replace that word.
Yeah.
And just for encouragement purposes, what are some of the strategies that you'd give young people who may be facing self-doubt or some of the struggles?
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to find their voice in this world or their place in this world through personal branding.
I would say to such a person that this world needs you. I think when God placed you, when God placed you in this space, He needed you for a time such as this. So never doubt yourself. You're not here just nje. There's so much that you can give to the world. There's so much that people can learn from you. And one thing that nobody can be better than is you. You're the only person who can be the best version of yourself. So never doubt yourself. Have faith in who you are. Have faith that there's someone you could inspire. Even me, honestly, I just look at myself as little Miss Mono, as my parents would call me. But I'm sure there's some people who would say, oh, I learned this thing from you and that. So
who are some of the people that inspire you?
Oh, my dad, deeply, on a deep level. That guy, he's my guy. My dad, my mom as well.
Yeah.
My mom as well. But my parents, I don't know if they intentionally did it, but like from a tender age, they intentionally took us to work. So I spent a lot of my time at Deloitte. So already my mind was thinking one day I'm going to work, know. So my parents, a lot of family members, some of my bosses as well. There's a lady called Masuzio. Masuzio. That girl. She's not even a girl. She's a woman. That woman, she's done so much for me. Like people will look out for you in this world. So those are the people. But number one, and God, Mwandi, because Yeah, but my dad, that's the guy. Yeah.
With that in mind, you know, everything you've mentioned, I just want to mention just three benefits I feel that exist for when we talk about personal branding. The first one is you lead more, okay, which means the people think they know you, okay, in the sense they feel they know you, so they'll follow you and they'll get other people to follow you. Okay, so that's how you lead, because now you're there as a thought leader and someone that they trust and look up to. Then you win more, okay, because you're self-aware, you know yourself, you've built your brand, okay, because generally, as we look at it, life is just a bunch of negotiations.
Yeah.
Okay, so whether it's in your personal life, your dating life, so now you can counter with confidence because you know the value that those people see in you, and because you have that in mind, you're able to counter and make the most out of a situation. And finally, you earn more because if you are aware and you know you've built your personal brand, it really does allow you to move. So every move you've made, people poaching you from one place to the next, every move you make in that sense usually means more money. And that's something that most people should be able to look at and say, you build your brand, you make more money as well, and you have these benefits that you enjoy and a wide array of opportunities that come your way. Like, you know, you've mentioned you dealt with something that, you know, the Vice President of the United States, you know, interacted with, and now it's just like, wow. So anyway, as we close, I have a few questions that I would like to ask you back to us as marketing and in Zambia. The first being, if you were to pick one brand, product or service, which embodies Zambia and what we're all about, what brand, service, or product would you pick? And why?
I think Travel Zambia. Travel Zambia. They do a great job at... that's such a tricky question. But okay, Travel Zambia or Trade Kings?
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're doing a much better job. So there was a point where it was, So, I think Travel Zambia does a great job because they have figured out an interesting way to grip people's attention and also show off our country.
Yes.
Yeah, in a way that brings back personality. So they've been using a lady called Adele Makai.
Okay.
And she literally travels Zambia. Okay. Amazing. The work is great. Yeah.
Well, I think I've seen them on Facebook.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where you look at it and you think, wait, we actually do have this.
Yeah.
Like, are you serious? Where is this place?
Yeah.
You know, and just,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, the beauty and everything. And you're wondering like, okay, you know what? I should probably, and I think we should have a conversation first about Zambia tourism marketing and how much more we can do because there's so much to see.
Most definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a marketing book that you feel has greatly impacted your marketing career?
No.
Really?
Really. I've never read a marketing book. What has helped me in marketing is journalism. So I do the inverse. So in journalism, there's something called semantics and semiotics, which is like analyzing media content that has been put out.
Yes.
So I do the opposite of that.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's what has helped me. That's how I've managed to be in this profession.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And which goes to say the dynamicness of marketing information.
Yeah.
Okay. And how we're able, it's like going back to the aspect of continuous learning. How do you use what you have to your advantage?
Yeah.
Because where someone else is using information that a lot of other people are using, you decide to do the inverse of that.
Yeah.
And draw the numbers using the knowledge you have from journalism to make the most impact you can.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting.
I'll ask you a trick question. There's only one right answer.
Okay.
Journalism or marketing? You know what? In closing, because I'm touched. Quite frankly, I'm touched. I'm just kidding. Who do you think would be an amazing guest for this show that you would like to listen to, of course?
The owner of Blink.
Is that
Bluseke.
okay. Yes.
That's a guy. I want to hear it.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blue, if you're listening,
Please.
What up?
we're coming after you.
we make that appointment. No, we've had an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for finding the time to join us in the studio. We're truly happy that you had it, and I hope our listeners get to enjoy every bit just as much as we have.
Yeah.
I have had a great time too. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for
Always. So to our listeners, please get in touch. Follow us on our socials. If you have any queries, get in touch. If you have any questions that you'd like us to address on the podcast, do not forget to message us, DM us. We're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on X. So please make it a point to do all that. Or even on YouTube, just under the videos, and you find us there. So we've had an amazing time, and we also appreciate you listening to us. So with that,
we shall close by saying, keep your finger on the
Marketing Pals.
We hope that you have enjoyed today's episode just as much as we have.
Till next time, remember to keep your finger on the Marketing Pals.